while Russia is now bracing to, in fact, deploy nukes in Belarus. Here's more in the war. As far as the war is concerned, the chief of Russia's Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has confirmed that the mercenary group has started withdrawing fighters from the eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. The announcement comes days after he claimed full control of the war-ravaged city. Of course, Kyiv disputes this assertion. Prigozhin, a Putin ally who has clashed with Russia's defense ministry throughout its 15-month invasion of Ukraine, has said that most Wagner mercenaries will move to field camps by next Thursday. The 3-minute footage shows Prigozhin walking across the deserted town, instructing his mercenaries, as you can see on the right side of your screen. At one point, he carries on with his speech against the sound of a loud explosion in the background. Listen in to what Prigozhin says.
We
are withdrawing units from Bakhmut today. It is now 5 hours on 25th of May. Until June the 1st, the main part will be relocated to rear camps. We are handing over the military positions, ammunition, everything including dry ration to the military.
Военным боекомплект, позиции, все, включая сухой паёк.
While Bakhmut seems to have fallen to Russia, there seems to be fresh confusion over Ukraine's counter-offensive. Many security analysts believe that the counter-offensive has already begun. Here's why I say so. A group of anti-Putin Russian nationals who are aligned with the Ukrainian army have claimed responsibility for an attack in Russia's southwestern region of Belgorod. This region borders northeastern Ukraine. 2 areas of the region were then hit by unmanned aerial vehicles, causing 2 houses to catch fire. While 1 civilian from a village has died due to cross-border fighting, about 100 others were evacuated from the Russian border settlements in Belgorod. The attack has arrived as a rude shock, giving the world dramatic images of Russian nationals actively taking up arms against the Kremlin. Smoke was also seen rising from apparent explosions. Local authorities have confirmed what they described as 2 drone strikes. So which groups are involved? On Telegram, the Freedom for Russia Legion said that this group and another group, the Russian Volunteer Corps, continue to liberate the Belgorod region. This post described the groups as patriot volunteers. Let's listen in to what Russia's defense minister has to say.
On May 22nd of this year, a unit of Ukrainian nationalist formation invaded the territory of Russian Federation in the area of international checkpoint Kozinka in the Belgorod region. In the course of counter-terrorist operation, the nationalist formations were blocked and defeated by airstrikes, artillery fire and the active actions of the cover units of the state border of the Western Military District. The remnants of the nationalists were driven back to the territory of Ukraine, when they continued to be hit by fire until they were completely eliminated.
And so where has this war reached? It seems like a very dangerous point, with the counter-offensive already begun and Russia all set to deploy nukes. Let's try and get in a sense of perspective, and for that I'm joined in by Ben Aris, who's the editor-in-chief of BNE and former Moscow bureau chief of Daily Telegraph. Thank you, Ben, for joining in. Now, we know soldiers are to be rotated and have to be rested out, but whatever Prigozhin is saying, is that claim a validation of victory over Bakhmut?
It seems pretty clear at this point that Bakhmut has fallen, in so much as the Institute for Studies of War reported this morning that they have seen no fighting going on in the city for the first time since December. However, of course, fog of war, everything's a little confusing. So the Ukrainians have denied this. They say fighting's going on continuously and that they have a toehold. But even the Ukrainians have downgraded somewhat their description of their presence in the city. And given that the Wagner people are rotating out, and there are plenty of reports of regular Russian troops being put in, artillery units being brought up, it does seem like, you know, the fight for Bakhmut is over, or at least in the sense that the Ukrainians have lost control of the city, and that the Russians are now in control, which is a huge propaganda gain for the Kremlin. I mean, they needed a victory. They haven't had a victory for months and months. This fight's been going on for 8 months, and finally it's come to some sort of conclusion.
Going by an interview given by the Wagner chief, he's in fact warned that the war may end with the Russian Revolution. What's happened in Belgorod also goes on to indicate there's anti-Kremlin sentiment within Russia. How is Belgorod now going to play out with that anti-Kremlin sentiment?
Yes and yes. It plays out. People are concerned. The people we've talked to in Belgorod Oblast, where this attack happened, they lost a village yesterday with these insurgents, these militias that crossed the border and took briefly control of the town. But they didn't hold it for more than a day, and they've been driven out. The Russians brought up heavy artillery troops and attacked them. There were 70 fighters, and they fled back across. They fled back across the border into Ukraine. However, the timing of it, I think, is significant that given that Kiev had just lost control of Bakhmut and took a propaganda hit or a media hit with that, then they've launched this spectacular attack into Russia proper, the first one, the largest scale attack on Russian territory, and taken this town in some way to, offset the bad news from Bakhmut. But the people there, they're concerned, they have been concerned for quite a while about the war spilling over into Russia, but they're not panicking. It seems that the Russians are now back in control of that region, of the Belgorod region, and that they're coming with their own propaganda saying that, we're going to beef up security, we're going to beef up the border, we're going to put in more troops, and we're still in charge. And look, the Ukrainians are now attacking Mother Russia. So they're trying to turn it to their own advantage, propaganda-wise, in order to inflame the people to actually join the army and fight.
All right, we'll leave it at that for now. Many thanks to you, Ben. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out next week. I'm sure it'll be a defining week